Just keep in mind, this is recorded and will go online. So you can do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want, but it will also be online. Hello everyone. I'd like to start by thanking WGEO for hosting me on this very important topic, which I believe should be part of every COP. And where better than Belém, in the heart of biodiversity, to talk about climate-smart agriculture for food security and nutrition. Agriculture presents our greatest vulnerabilities and also our greatest opportunities at a time of climate crisis. It sustains our lives, that's for sure. We cannot live without it. But at the same time, it's highly vulnerable. It's exposed to temperature, to pandemics, to shifting rainfalls, to droughts, to a lot of disruptions that are changing the way we look into agriculture. On top, we know that agriculture could result in up to 30% of our emissions, depending on how we define that. So already there is as well the topic of emissions that should be covered. The sector has witnessed a lot of advancements, a lot of R&D, and if you think about things like sustainable land management, regenerative practices, renewable energy integration, and so on, there is a lot that can be done. But the question is how? How can we make sure that this is scalable? How can we make sure that this becomes a reality? So for today, I'm going to host distinguished panelists that will bring knowledge from around the world and that will give us the how. How can we make this a reality? So join me in welcoming our distinguished guest, Max Muller, Senior VP, Head of Public Affairs for Bayer. Please. Abdikadir Dakane, National Director, SOS Children's Village. Welcome. Akash Manaswi, internationally invited student researcher and presenter on behalf of African Climate Change Research Center. Welcome. We will also later be joined by Dr. Satish Kumar, President and Executive Director of Alliance for Energy Efficient Economy. So I'll join you on stage. So first, as a small introduction, if you can tell us a bit more about you and your organization and the role you are playing, in short, of course, in this ecosystem. We'll just do a small round and then we go through the questions.
Yeah, big thank you for having us, Bayer, here at WGEO. Bayer is a 160-year-old life science company that is focused in pharmaceuticals, in consumer health, and in agriculture. And one of the things that we do believe is important is our mission, or the most important, and that's health for all, hunger for none. And since we have to remain within our planetary boundaries, we are offering solutions how we can do that, not in the future, but today. And I'm Head of Global Public Affairs for Bayer, and it's a privilege to be here.
Hey, hello, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for having me. My name is Abdikadir Dakane. I am the National Director, Country Director for SOS Children's Villages in Somalia. I work in a country that is a victim of climate change and climate shocks. The organization I work for is a child right focused, and we are looking at the climate shock and the disasters related to child rights. All the disasters that happen, the children are the first ones to suffer. And we are trying to be very innovative how we can help the children and venture into climate smart agriculture, support them with the nutrition, their nutrition, and we also do quite a huge health program. So it's kind of relevant to do the health and also the nutrition and the climate smart agriculture at all. So basically the rights to child drive us to all different dimensions. The right to health, the right to education, the right to environment, all this, especially we are very serious about implementing the general commitment and general commitment number 26 from the United Nations Conventions on the Rights of the Child. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. My name is Akash Manaswi, and I am a high school student researcher, and I've been conducting honeybee conservation research for about 4 years now. And I think this is a huge issue that we're facing because bees are responsible for a huge amount of our pollination and food supply, but they decline at a very alarming rate. And there's lots of other pressing issues going on in the agricultural sectors.
Okay, perfect. Welcome all. Max, if we start with you. Clearly, Bayer is the biggest in this field, and I would say an important topic that we cannot but recognize is that when it comes to those solutions, usually the ones that are affected the most are the most vulnerable. So what role are you playing, or what are the solutions that can be there to reach those most affected, I would say?
Thank you very much. I mean, we are here in the rainforest in Brazil, so we can feel the heat. We can understand what the consequences of extreme weather events are happening. And my young colleague here on stage, while we older ones are keeping it a bit more informal, I applaud you for being here with the suit and the tie, because this is a very serious conference. But I have decided to be more informal, because while it is so easy to talk about the impact of this for agriculture, but also for health workers, for instance, this is not the theory, this is the reality for a lot of part around the planet. So, health for all, hunger for none, what does this mean in practice? We have more than 8.5 billion people to feed, and we have to do this within the planetary boundaries. We have to do this producing more on less land, with less water, less chemicals, less by producing more. The good news is technology can help, innovation can help. And we are in the very country where 30 years ago Brazil was a net importer of food. Today they are one of the most important agricultural countries on the planet. How? Through innovation. And for the first time ever at a COP, we have an agri-zone just about a mile from this venue, that shows how in tropical environment crops can grow that are helping feed the world, provide the necessary diet with new technology, short maturity. And I would like to give just 2 examples to show how the mitigating and adaptating process is happening. We have just recently developed a so-called short stature corn. We call this prescient. So corn usually grows 3 meters high. And if you have extreme weather events, the risk of losing the harvest is high. Our short stature corn is 2 meters, about 2 meters high. So you can grow it more dense, you need less water for it, it still has the same amount of fruit, and you need less chemicals. So you can do exactly those more with less. Now, adding up to that is also, please keep in mind, if we have an extreme weather event, in particular the smallholder farmers are at risk of losing most, if not all, of their potential future, not only their health, but also their future. So it's not only about the current harvest, but also the next year's one. And this one example, and maybe I come to another one a bit later, is what is part of the solution that works also in line with sustainability. And this is why we think it is important that at this COP, the COP of Action, we talk exactly about this sort of approaches that help, for instance, our program, 100 million smallholder farmers getting access to modern seeds, modern crop protection, and digital solutions that help them really secure their own future and provide food security.
Excellent. And if I may follow up just on the topic of regenerative agriculture, how much is that playing a role?
Well, there is no solution without that. And the good news is, these sorts of technologies, and again, I'm referring to the agri-zone because it's, for everyone who's working on food security, it's a must place to be. Because we cannot solve the world's problems, be it extreme weather incidents, droughts, but health, food, without finding solutions how we can keep carbon emissions in the soil. Now imagine soy can transform carbon emissions into fertilizer on its own. Now technology made it, innovation made it possible that we train corn to do the same. And so you need less fertilizer or even up to no fertilizer in the future. Just imagine for a smallholder farmer what this opportunity could provide and also for his soil. Now, just recently was the World Bank autumn meeting in Washington, D.C. And together with Pula Foundation, the UC Davis, our CEO announced that we are going into field trials of nitrogen fixing wheat in Africa. Talking about food security and having this impact, there's just no better way. But for our farmers, it is important that they have a fruitful soil. So if it's not regenerative, they cannot make their own living. So for us, it is paramount to find solutions in that. And what is so interesting is farmers are conserving the planet. This has been there forever, yet they are not seen very often, at least, as part of the solution, but rather as part of the problem. So Regenerative Ag will help to hopefully change this narrative.
Excellent, thank you, Mike. Akash, maybe we'll jump to you next. Also talking about innovation and solutions, right? So how can digital and precision farming tools reduce waste or optimize water resources and improve yield sustainability?
Yeah, so with precision tools, you can use it, farmers can use it to pinpoint exact...
Let's get it closer to you so that they can...
Exactly. Farmers can use these precision tools and artificial intelligence to specifically target what needs to be treated, where their pests are, and what fertilizers and pesticides to use to treat for their crops. Without these precision tools, the farmers, they would really just blindly go in, treat for the entire, their entire crops, and what that would result in is a higher accumulation of pesticides and unneeded treatment and labor, and also money invested in those treatments as well. So with artificial intelligence or these precision tools, they can effectively treat their crops and plants more effectively, safer for the crops as well, without there being contaminations of pesticides, and they can do it in a much cheaper way as well.
Just as a follow-up as well, given that you're still currently studying and going through the whole journey,
yeah.
How much is that now integrated as a basic studying or basic part of studying to go into those topics?
So to go into these topics, it requires quite a bit of studying. You have to go into undergraduate programs to start off with in college, and then go on to graduate level programs, and eventually perhaps a PhD to get involved in this work. But you could also do it independently, which is something that I've been doing because I'm not a graduate level student yet. And I was able to get involved in this work by working with the USDA and local universities near my home.
Excellent. And that maybe gets me to you, Abdelkadir, right? So it's one thing to get up to the PhD, to get ready for it, or to have a tremendous amount of R&D to invest in it. But at the end of the day, there is a certain reality that you are living, and there is a whole topic of how to empower those small farmers, the women, the youth, and what kind of enablers are actually needed to make sure that they are not the marginalized ones and they are benefiting from that.
Thank you. Being a grassroots organization, we work with the most vulnerable populations in the rural areas deep in Somalia. And what we have seen is, Somalia, we have two rivers that easily dry up very fast. And 75% of the farmers and the animal herders depend on rainfall. So the minute we lose rain, it is a catastrophe, clearly a catastrophe. That's why we have recurring droughts We have recurring floods. When it rains again, the land is not able to absorb all this. So it's a flash floods, droughts, all this. Imagine the country again 80% dependent on agriculture and livestock. It's our huge production sector. But this is never the case. Every year we are facing this terrible climate catastrophe. Imagine we are using the Faro irrigation system in 21st century. Many years ago, and people are wasting a lot of water. So what we have done is we worked with the local population. We started climate smart agriculture. We were one of the first to start in Somalia. And we trained local farmers on how to use, for example, hydroponic system. When in a situation like that where you have no fertile lands, no rains, you need to adapt to the reality, to use less water, to use less chemical, less fertilizers, and to increase your yield. Space should not be an issue. So we have trained farmers in hydroponics farming. We have trained different types of hydroponics farming system actually. We have given them the tools, the avenues. It was very challenging at the beginning, but we invested ourselves. Demonstration farms where people can come, learn from there. We are creating these systems. Unfortunately, in Somalia, we are now going through the most important state building stage, and most of the institutions are not there to support. So we managed to link these local farmers who are really facing the catastrophe of climate change, giving them the skills, and then we link them with the financial institutions like the banks to help them, give them, and again, there's nothing free takeaway. So it has to be, they have to commit themselves, they have to invest in it, and they have to also pay back. So that we have seen, there's a lot of opportunities for investors, for example, from abroad, for example, and then the trust and the risk averse is still there as a big blocker. People are not willing to support the farmers. Imagine we produce one of the best banana in the world, the most sweetest, delicious banana, watermelon. Because of the temperature, all these fruits are really tasty. Unfortunately, there is no single contract farming that's happening in the country. So farmers are highly discouraged. Whenever they produce their harvest, they end up looking at how much they have invested in producing. So the return on investment does not really match. So that is why we have food security issues, and that's why we are helping many local farmers to venture into climate smart agriculture, so that they can produce faster and they can use less water, and they do not have to worry about space or the climate at all.
Excellent, thank you. Dr. Satish, coming to you. If you can tell us a little bit first about the Alliance and the role it is playing in, if you can, and the role it is playing in this industry. But then, as a follow-up, talking about enablers and how can we enable the right distribution, let's say, or to avoid marginalized societies. What is the role that the Alliance is playing?
Okay. Thank you, and my apologies. Somehow I felt that the session is starting at 5 p.m., so my bad. And thank you for the opportunity. So, Alliance for an Energy Efficient Economy, we are a non-profit think tank working in India, and we work at the intersection of policy, technology, and financing, and the smart agricultural aspect is something that we started to work for the last 7-8 years, and our entry point to this segment was more in terms of how to enable smallholder farmers who feel the brunt of, I think, any like deviation in monsoon season, and where sometimes they are able to sell their products, I think, in a distressed situation because they need the money at hand. So our focus has been how to create like a post-harvest cold chain infrastructure, which will improve the horticultural product shelf life, and it will also benefit the farmers by giving, I think, more sort of returns to them, because they are real sort of like people who are helping grow. So I'll give an example of like where we have worked. So where we are working is, I think, at three levels. One is at this new infrastructure that we are proposing, and the same is true for Africa and South Asia and India, is that most of the cold chain infrastructure that we are talking about, from pack houses to ripening chambers to reefer vans and all the way to the supermarket, is sort of like not existing in India. What is existing are cold storages, and these cold storages are large cold storages that are using older technology. So there is a need to sort of upgrade these facilities by attracting new form of financing and investment as well, and make it like from a single crop, like which can only store potatoes or chilies, to multi sort of like crop holding technology, where you can control the temperature and humidity of smaller chambers to suit the sort of like yearly farming. So it could be fruits, it could be vegetables, or it could be, I think, vegetables like potatoes and chilies. So I think in this, what we are proposing and what we are doing is that the smallholder farmers, they don't have access to cold chain infrastructure. So one of the things that we are doing is to provide like a 10-ton micro cold rooms. I think at FPO level, Farmer Producers Organization, these are cooperatives, and we are arranging for financing. But more importantly, we are also arranging for clean technology. So whether that is energy efficient technology powered by renewable energy power, I think is something that we are working, and we are pilot testing. We have helped do pilot demonstration in the state of Bihar and Uttar Pradesh and Haryana. And also one thing that we are realizing, that just providing these kind of infrastructure solution is not good enough, because they need to make use of this infrastructure and make sure that they can actually store it using package of practices, and then able to sell, I think, in the local farmer market at a slight premium that they would have probably not commanded, I think, if the product would not have been preserved. So that's I think one of the things that we are doing. And then the other one is these large cold storages. How do we sort of like make them more energy efficient? And the third and last thing is the solar power based pumping system, which allows the farmers to actually do it at a very small cost using renewable energy power technology. So I think our sort of focus is more on using energy efficient and renewable energy technology to make farmers, I think, more independent, more self-sustaining, and at the same time, I think we are trying to help like almost 60% of the population that is dependent on agriculture in India.
Perfect, thank you. Maybe Akash, to close this section, and since we talk about youth, I also understood that you have established a whole NGO focusing on that. So can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yes, so around 4 years ago, I co-founded the International Youth STEM Society, which is a nonprofit that's dedicated to spreading equitable STEM access to youth globally, no matter their race, religion, where they're from, the country of origin. And what we've been doing is we've been conducting workshops to be able to spread this STEM access. So we have a website with various tools. So we have blog posts, we have tutorials, we have videos, and we're kind of compiling a way for youth to get involved in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics early on in their careers, because we've seen that it can have massive impacts on what they decide to do in the future.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
So here are some several examples of enablers and systems that are there. Maybe going back to you, Max, on when we talk about how food systems should be transformed to deliver climate benefits and nutrition outcomes, we have to talk about also the strategies to align agriculture with nutrition-sensitive food policies. So what can you tell us about that?
One of the biggest unknown factors is that food security and fighting hunger on this planet is possible. we can do that. And I have not only trust in young leaders like Akash who are making sure that when I'm old, I'm also having food on the table, but it is that we have learned we have to protect our soil on the one hand side, so we can foster this. We have to learn that we have to take better care of us and our workers that are constantly out there working in the fields. Because if we do not, then there's a whole chain that is set on fire. If you're not out there as a smallholder farmer on your 1, 2, 3 acres, you will risk the life of your whole family within one yield, one season. So, do we have a lack of policies? No, we don't. Do we have a lack of innovation? No, we don't. Do we have the right regulatory systems for this complex world? Maybe not. Why? Because innovation is always faster than regulation. But we are living in a time when science sometimes is politicized rather than being what it's supposed to be. So we are having fights about GMO and non-GMO, about new ways like CRISPR, etc. But it's not about the right or wrong, whether you want to be an organic farmer or what is so-called conventional, which in the end is always going to be a regenerative farmer, because he's not protecting his soil, he will not grow anything. So one of the consequences I do believe is that we're on a path that we are connecting the dots between those several value chains and groups. So a conference like the COP of Actions here in Brazil makes you understand that those most in need, what they have claimed for 10, 15 years is now felt also in the global north. When you have a summer in London that is hotter than a day in India or Brazil or Somalia with 40, 42 degrees, then it might adapt you, okay, we have to do something. If you have a solution that captures carbon in the ground, in the soil, why not incentivize to the carbon certificates, in particular smallholder farmers, so they have a second string of income and they have an interest to preserve and move towards regenerative agriculture. And here at this conference, you can see various initiatives we just had with Deutsche Bank, with Siemens, with Honduras and Suriname, a rainforest preservation carbon market initiative that involves the private sector as well as states, that gives an incentive in preservation. And the same goes with also new incentives like Pro Carbono, which is one of our products from Bayer that you can see in the agri-zone. But it's not a gift, it's not a donation, it's a second string of income that makes sustainability not something you do if you can afford it, but it makes it part of your business strategy, even if you are a smallholder, or in particular if you are a smallholder. And so these are pathways that need much more advocates that are showing data-driven results. And see, this is a path for the future, so that, my friend to my left, when the bananas from Somalia are as sweet as the one from Brazil, and as a half Brazilian, I'm sorry, but I need to do some little advertisement here. But this is exactly the sort of incentive that we have to do. And Bayer as a company, we're proud in having partners all over the globe, in particular on the smallholder side, to do that. And when I'm older and sitting at videos and watching them COP, I don't know, 45, Akash, I hope you will have the solution that's going in the next round.
Thank you. Well, I hope it's not until then that we find more solutions. But
No, but I intend to do a little work in between from now until then.
That's important.
You'll not send me in retirement too early, please.
All right. Sorry, but we jump just quickly to Dr. Satish on an important topic, which is the public procurement and value chain reforms, right? This is an important driver for sustainability and nutritious food. Have you looked into that, and what are your views on this?
Yeah, so I think, again, the area that we have worked on is, I think, how does farmers, and especially smallholder farmers, get access to the right technology and to the right financing. So sometimes government is making available resources, but for these farmers, I think what is the technology? How do they go about procuring it? Do they form a cooperative? What are the specs? Because they don't understand, I think, what the efficiency of the system or the generation capacity of a renewable energy system is. So it's a fairly important point, and I think what we are trying to do is twofold. One is that for some of these cold chain infrastructure that I think we want the smallholder farmers to have access to. Because I think at AEEE we have people like who are engineers and economists and others. And so what we do is we look at all the government policies that are there, and then we also talk to many of the sort of equipment suppliers and others, and we have come up with like a procurement specification sheet which is sort of validated and which is also approved by the government agencies, and we are making that available to all the FPOs who are in the process of procuring some of these things if they have, I think, is some resources that they can use that. That's one thing. The second piece that we are also doing, that for, I think, some of the government entities which have procured this for the farmers, but they are not working as they are supposed to work. So we are also going out and doing some assessments, and I think how to run them, what are the operation and maintenance practices for this, and making that publicly available. The goal again here is that I think we want to minimize food losses, and I think in the way, so I think to the point that Mike was making is that I think how do you get, I think, the nutritious food to the people. I think so the one way is that if the horticulture, the fruits and vegetables are actually fresh, and I would say, I think that even in India, I think there are some amazing fruits, I think mangoes and other things. So I think all countries, I think are very sort of like proud of, I think, the kind of fruits and vegetables that they produce. But the important thing is that are we doing enough for the farmers, I think, who are actually producing? Do we have the right policies? Do they get access to right technology? And do they have the financing available? So I think those are the sort of things. And what we are also seeing that in India, large country as it is, about 20% of the horticultural produce doesn't even reach kitchen tables. And that actually is about 50 million tons of fruits and vegetables that get lost. So if you translate that to nutritious food and people, I think, who don't have access, it's a fairly sizable amount. And also not only that, they actually emit greenhouse gas emissions. So once they rot, they actually are emitting methane and carbon dioxide emissions. So it's a double whammy in that sense. And through our work, I mean, we are trying to make a little bit of a difference, I think, in the lives of the smallholder farmers. Thank you.
I think, Max, you want to make some concluding remarks because you have to leave us.
Yeah, as mentioned, unfortunately, I need to head out, but there's just two things I would like to highlight here quickly. You're absolutely right. The mangoes in India, amongst many other things, are fantastic. Was just there 2 weeks ago and can confirm. Two initiatives that I would like to highlight. One of the things is if a smallholder farmer loses his harvest, he is not able to go in the next year's harvest, and with all these other topics. One of the projects Bayer has now with Pula Foundation is attacking exactly this. It is how can we create an insurance system that is affordable and capable for smallholder farmers, but it is not reliant on a donation. Yes, it is the scaling up, but we want to show the proof of concept with the governments that we started this initiative together with partners. So we're getting near to one of these funds. That's the one thing. The second thing is, and I'm very grateful for this invitation to have this platform, is disinformation and information. We have to make sure that farmers get the right sort of information about their opportunities. We have digital technology on our smartphone. We can visualize issues, and we need scientists, we need think tanks, we need international multilateral organizations to spread information rather than false information, because working with threats instead of solutions that are available is putting lives at risk. We're talking about millions of people starving from hunger that would not be necessary. And again, a big thanks for having this discussion. It's good to be here. I apologize that I need to
That's
run
okay.
a bit early,
Thank
but the
you.
waits here are rather long. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike. Abdul Kadir, maybe. All right. So there is an exchange, but absolutely. Well, we can share with you the details. Thank you, Max. Thank you. Abdi Kadir, just in a brief, also caring about the time. You have a great project in Somalia happening also around climate smart agriculture. Could you tell us a few words about that? And after, maybe we'll go through a round of expectations from COP. Please.
Thank you. We really tried our best to help people who are affected by the climate shocks by doing climate smart agriculture, kind of an integrated, looking at it from nutrition perspective. Because in my country, many children, most of the children are highly malnourished because of lack of food and lack of really proper diet meals. So we introduced the hydro
system together with the livestock that are resistant to the climate change, that can really survive, and also that can produce more milk for the children. And on the side also a poultry. So it is like a setup where it shows you have the vegetables here, the food coming from here, you have the cows and the goats that are really kind of supported in a way hybrid. We are doing crossbreeding, so we are bringing some cows from outside. We bring in also goats, so that we are making them drought resistant. And then we have even a small poultry setup. So the farmers, the family will really get busy. The young people will have to work itself. It creates a decent job, and also the mothers, the parents, you can see them really coming in. One of the challenges is the entire value chain, linking it up with the market, having it, a steady market for them, to making sure whatever produce they have is turned into economic support for the family. So it is now
working in a slow pace. We have started in one region and quickly expanded to 2 other regions. And we can see the number of beneficiaries, the way it transforms their lives. For example, we have families who are internally displaced, earning less, living on less, below the poverty line. And in 1 year, 12 months time, we can see the same family who are living below the poverty line earning $10 a day. And their life has really transformed, and you can see the children are changing physically because they are getting highly nutritious food, milk, and eggs, and so on. One unfortunate thing is, from the health side, we invest more than $10 million procuring plumpy nuts and plumpy saps, highly nutritious peanuts that are processed, it's a medicine meant for the children who are highly malnourished. So we have stabilization centers in our hospital where children who are extremely malnourished, facing a matter of life and death, are being admitted. And imagine, we have the land, we have the resource here, and we invest $10 million procuring these peanuts, processed peanuts, highly nutritious, from Europe, from elsewhere, again, bringing it with the airplane, with ships, carbon emission, you can imagine. It's really a vicious cycle. I wish if we were able to invest that 10 million into the farmers, train them how to grow these highly nutritious meals, like, to take care of their children and train them, it will be a game changer. But
Excellent.
we have global giants who are really playing another game. So
Excellent. Maybe to conclude, if you have one thing, and really shortly, about COP, what would you ask from COP 30?
For COP30, I will say climate smart agriculture is not only increasing yield, but just the last one I said, support the local, go deep into the rural areas, support that. Our policies should not be blockers, but enablers for those farmers. Think about the farm in the deep rural area, and with local and global, you can be able to achieve. So that's my message. Empower farmers in the local field.
Excellent. Akash, what's your demand from COP30?
I would mainly say that we need to delegate more funding towards some issues that we're facing, especially the honeybee crisis that we have. Every year, as I mentioned, there's around a 40 to 50% annual decline, and there is change being made, but the amount of change being made isn't enough that's needed, because our honeybees are responsible for a third of the food we eat and 80% of global food and crop pollination. And the fact that we're losing these bees at such an alarming rate is a huge issue and crisis that really needs to be addressed.
Perfect, thank you. Dr. Satish, what's your request from COP30?
Well, I have a laundry list of things, but I think the one thing that I would want is that feeding 7 to 8 billion people, I think it falls on the shoulders of our farmers. And I believe, I think their financial situation, their livelihood situation is not great. And if I think in COP30, through I think all the parties, all the government can come out, I think which starts to actually reward the farmers for the hard work that they do. So whether that's through financing, whether that's through policy, whether that's through technology, if that can be made available to them, that would be super helpful.
Perfect. And maybe with that we'll conclude this wonderful panel. One thought that comes to mind is that when we talk about sustainability, we're not talking about luxury. We're talking about the rural city. We're talking about the bees. We're talking about life. And if I were to make also a request from COP, to remember that it's actually the people behind that. It's not the climate just for the sake of the climate, it's the people. So thank you for your great insights today, and good luck on your life missions. Thank you.
Thank you, WGO, for the opportunity.
That's it.